Okay, welcome everybody to this CTERA webinar introducing the new CTERA H Series Edge filers. So we're really excited about these new appliances, and we want to take this next 45 minutes to an hour to give you an overview of these great new appliances. So with us today are Oded Nagel, who's our Chief Strategy Officer at CTERA. And we're really delighted to have a customer presence on this webinar, and that's in the form of Ewan McSween, who is an enterprise architect for JWT, J. Walter Thompson in London, who has firsthand experience working with CTERA over a number of years, and most recently working with our new Edge filer. So we're really excited to get his input and his point of view on this, and I think everyone will really enjoy that as well. So we are using Zoom as a platform. If you've used it before, it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you haven't, check the bar at the top of your window near where you're watching this screen. You'll see a number of different options. Specifically, I want to point you to the Q&A button where you can submit questions, and at the end of the call, we'll have Oded and Ewan handle a number of those questions as they come in. So please feel free to use that. If we don't get to your question, because there may be many, we will get back to you via email after the call. So with that, I'd like to introduce Oded. Oded, would you like to take it from here, and I'll control the slides for now?
Excellent. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jim. Okay, so let's start. And again, as Jim said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask it during the webcast. So today's agenda, we're talking about, we are going to introduce the H Series product line, the feature sets and the benefits, the specs and the use cases, and of course, later on, Ewan from JWT will present how he used today the H Series and why he chose this, this solution. So a little bit about CTERA, if you're not familiar with us. So the company was founded in 2008. We are ex-cybersecurity expert. We are coming from the cybersecurity market. We are a global company. We have offices globally in North America, Europe, APAC, and Latin America. Our headquarters, our R&D headquarters in Israel, where we have the development, and we have also sales headquarters in the US. In regards to our customer base, so you'll find in our customer portfolio two types of customers. One is what we call service providers. So we work with the largest service provider today in Europe, which are using our platform to resell services to their customers. You can find companies like Telefonica, Swisscom, Telecom Italia, or business services that are using our platform to sell file services to their business customers. And on the other end, you'll find the largest enterprise customers in the world using our platform to provide secure file services to their internal users, companies like WPP and JWT, which they are here on the webcast, McDonald's. We do also a lot of business in the security space. So we have a project in the US Air Force and the DoD. And of course, other financial services like Santander and Carlyle Group. So CTERA is basically operates in what we call the secure enterprise file services from edge to cloud. It means that we have developed a global file system and central management platform that sits on your cloud. And when you're talking about cloud, we're talking about private cloud or public cloud. So we are a hybrid solution where you can choose where to install our platform. We support today almost any private or public object storage solution in the market. And then we have multiple use cases to use the platform. So one is what we call the CTERA Edge filer. It's basically a gateway. We'll focus on it later on the webcast, which can present NAS interfaces like CIFS and NFS to the over the LAN, and then using our one protocol, we can replicate and sync data from the edge to the cloud. And if you don't want a gateway, you can use our CTERA Drive app, which is a software that you can run on your desktop and then provide the full sync and collaboration capabilities. So you'll find in our platform three main key elements is what we call the unified file services, which we provide modern collaboration, sync, and backup capabilities from any device and on any cloud. We help you to accelerate the access to your data on the branch and then sync and sync and replicate the data to the cloud. And of course, on top of it, we have our total security, which we encrypt all the data. We help you to control where the data is going to be stored and how to protect your data in the best way. So we are happy to introduce a new product line, which we call the HC series. It's a much more faster, larger, and stronger device comparing to our previous product line, which is still available. You'll find in this product line three main improvements. First of all, it's much faster. We're talking about 3 times faster than the other product line, around 500 megabytes per second. It's much larger, like 2 times larger from a capacity point of view. You can get a device up to 96 terabytes, and of course, it's much more stronger. It can support a very large office up to 5,000 users. From a hardware point of view, we are talking about hardware that is based either on HPE or Dell servers. It's coming with 10 gig interfaces, hardware RAID, 64 gig of RAM, and other built-in enhancement in the hardware. From logistics point of view, it comes built in with a global support next business day for any hardware failure based on the vendor support, of course. And we are allowing also to run other application on the machine, not just the CTERA Edge filer, that allows you to basically run it as a converged gateway and run other application in your remote office on our platform. So on a high level, this is how the product line looks like. So we have 3 models. The models are called HC400E, HC400, and HC1200. And of course, if you don't want to buy a complete solution based on software and hardware, you can all the time go and buy our EV series, which is the virtual machine that you can run on top of your own hardware. The main differences between the platforms, or let's say the models, are based on the number of users that you can manage, and of course the capacity that you can have on the device. So as you see, the product line starts from 16 terabyte up to 96 terabyte raw, depending, of course, on the RAID level that you define. You get the net storage on the device. So let's talk about the use cases and how you can use the HC series. So basically, the device can be used as a local NAS in your remote office that expose the standard NAS protocols, CIFS and NFS, and then using our advanced caching technology, you can define what you would like to tier to the cloud and archive to the cloud in order to remove data from your hot data to a cold or warm data. So we have built-in caching capability inside the HC series, which allows you to define what will be stored on your hot data and what will be stored on the cold data, meaning on the object storage, but still be representative and the user will be able to see it and access the data, even it's not really stored on the cache device locally on the branch. This use case can present a dramatic cost saving by reducing the amount of local storage on the branch, and also by cost saving moving the data to a low-cost object storage solution, which is stored on your cloud, which can be either public or private, as we discussed before. So basically, the use case here is what we call the file server replacement. We are using our CTERA Edge filer as replacement for local file services like Windows File Server or NetApp solutions, where you can replace this type of technologies with our CTERA Edge filer. This Edge filer will perform as a NAS, as a file server, using LAN performance speed from the end user point of view, and then using our cloud protocol, we can dedupe, encrypt, and compress the data and move the data to an object storage solution. From a disaster recovery point of view, we offer multiple options in our solution, meaning that if the gateway is down, you can all the time put another gateway and then do a failover automatically to a secondary gateway in your office. If you want to have a direct DR to the cloud, you can install another gateway in the cloud itself and then automatically fail over to an edge filer in the cloud. And if you like as well, you can access directly your data on the cloud without the need of an edge cloud. We provide you a web interface and a desktop application where you can automatically redirect your users and then access your data directly in the cloud. So basically, our solution provides you a multi-layer DR functionalities, which you can choose what will be the best DR strategy for your company. So if I summarize the benefits of the edge filers, so you're talking about a unified approach where it's a combination of endpoint clients and edge gateways for global access with local acceleration. Security is definitely one of our key benefits in the solution. So we have multi-layers of security where you can put all the platform and all the solution in your data center, fully control where the data is stored. And of course, the universal scalable. So the platforms that we develop, the global file system, is scalable solution where you can present a global file system to tens or hundreds of locations from a single console where the users will be able to access their data from anywhere, from any device on any cloud. So the HC series, as we presented before, is already available today. We already have customers in production, and you'll hear more about how to use the product in a second from one of our customers. So if you need more information about the device, please feel free to approach us directly, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So having said that, Jim would like to introduce Ewan.
Yes, thanks, Oded, for that great overview of the HC series. Ewan McSween is here with us from J. Walter Thompson in London. Ewan, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
We hear you just great. Now, would you like to share your screen?
Yep, sure. I'll do that now. There we are. Can you see everything all right there?
Yes, we do.
Great. So if you guys are all done, I'll just crack on if that's okay.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ewan.
Good stuff. Thanks, Oded. Thanks, Jim. So first off, thanks guys for joining. I just wanted to say hello first. So my name's Ewan McSween. I'm an enterprise architect for EMEA and a business partner for JWT. So first off, I just have to do 4 obligatory slides just to explain a little bit about who we are at JWT, otherwise my marketing people will kill me. So first and foremost, we're a creative agency. We specialize in media, marketing, advertising across the board. We do everything from social advertising to data analytics and digital transformation. You know, everybody likes to name drop. So here are some of the clients that we work with. You know, we're a global company in 54 countries around the world. We have over 10,000 employees. We've been around for 152 years, and it says we've seen more futures happen than any other agency in the world. So I think what I'm trying to say is, you know, if you were to put your advertising and media requirements into our hands, you would be in a safe pair of hands. So that's just a little bit about JWT and what we do. Now I'd just like to get on with the our sort of journey with CTERA. We'll cover off some of the HC1200 bits. We'll brush over some of that, but really to give you an idea of why we decided to partner with CTERA as our sort of strategic partner for file services, I think would help to give you a bit of background about our IT transformation and our journey as a whole. First off, the initial brief that we got for our sort of transformation journey was about downsizing, consolidating our server room. Also, we had a sort of agency refresh taking place in the agency. So we needed to give that space back to the business and downsize and consolidate basically all of the infrastructure, all of the services that we had coming out of that server room. That wasn't just servers and storage. This was the network and everything that goes into a traditional sort of server room. So the opportunity that we had there was to build a micro data center, redefining that traditional sort of server room, installing a next generation network, and obviously the opportunity to refresh and consolidate all of our servers across the board and all of our storage. The potential, as with most IT incentives, was to increase user satisfaction and confidence in IT, increase efficiency and productivity, and reduce cost. So where were we about 12 months ago? So our server estate was due to be refreshed, it was due to be replaced. We had a storage solution which was slightly problematic, and the failure rates were starting to increase, resulting in user tension and people not being too happy with the services that were being provided at the time. We had a very complex and costly DR solution. We used double take. We had a very sort of traditional way of replicating all of our data over to a cold site. So we had numerous pieces of software, numerous licenses and maintenance contracts that we kind of had to support. Everything from Enterprise Vault, Backup Exec, VMware, HP, all that sort of stuff just added to the complexity and the cost of our environment. So we were looking to consolidate all of that and simplify our IT offering. We also had a lot of capital expenditure, all of the storage sitting on numerous storage enclosures, archive boxes, it was quite costly. Also, just a little more than 12 months ago, we were unlucky enough to have been hit by the Petya ransomware virus. So we needed something that was going to be secure, that would safeguard us against any such attacks in the future. One of the great reasons why we decided to partner with CTERA was their background in security. So just to sort of paint a picture here, this is basically our sort of existing or our old estate. So we have some of our sister companies over there on the right, but JWT basically accommodated about 3 racks, and pretty much all of that was storage. There's no applications or anything in there. That's pretty much, all storage, and that's taking up, that's all use space that you see there in our server room. And this was the proposal. It's actually where we are today. So the JWT stuff, we went from about 3 racks down to about half a rack. And CTERA basically take up the HC1200, takes up only a couple of you in our rack space, and the rest of our CTERA deployment are just virtual machines sitting in a SAN. So that plus leveraging Amazon Web Services and S3, we were able to consolidate and reduce our size quite significantly. So there we are. So the journey, so what we did was, we deployed 4 virtual gateways, as I mentioned. We had a HC1200 that we set up for our designers and our production environment. So the HC1200 for us was all about power. It was about efficiency. We went from having 2 dual 1 gig Ethernet cards on our old C800 devices over to 10 gig Ethernet. One of the great benefits that we kind of saw from that, and some of the efficiencies that we saw, was designers working in a more traditional way, working off their desktops, uploading stuff at the end of the day. with the HC1200, you know, people were able to work directly off the server. We're looking to extend that into the production environment as well, and see if we can leverage video direct from the HC1200 as well. So we're able to set up a European portal. So the portal's a great thing. All it really does for us is gives us visibility of our entire estate. I mean, I'm sort of focused on London here, but we have deployed CTERA across the Middle East and across Europe in a number of offices. And what the portal actually allows us to do is gives us a sort of single pane of glass and visibility into our estate. What we have out there gives us some basic sort of access and control over the devices, and also gives us a lot of control over our data. So we set that up. So back to London again, we migrated and secured 173 terabytes of data. So it's actually a lot more data than we initially thought, but after we went through a very long journey of recalling all of our archive data and all of this sort of stuff from Enterprise Vault, which was our old archive system, you know, we ended up with 173 terabytes of data. We synced all of that to S3, which took a while, but we got there in the end. We consolidated a lot of software and a lot of hardware. You know, I mentioned all of the software, you know, all the licenses, all of the vendors that we had previously, all the maintenance contracts that we had to support. We were able to roll all of that under one single umbrella, which is like the CTERA umbrella. So for us, that just kind of simplified the whole process of, you know, renewing contracts, renewing the service. It was just easier to manage and a lot less headache from an IT perspective as well. So, you know, as well as increasing productivity for our designers and our staff, we increased the efficiency from an IT perspective as well, just through the simplification of, you know, from going from, you know, I'd say 4 key software vendors for DR backup and archiving to one, basically. So that was great to be able to do that. So where we are now, you know, we have a secure, stable, and efficient hybrid storage solution, thanks to CTERA. And, you know, touch wood, I mean, I'd say our design server has been in for something like 6 months now. Hasn't actually failed once on us, and it's been going really well. I mean, the feedback that we've had from our users has been very positive. You know, so that's great. We have backup and archiving, or caching as it's also known, to cloud. So rather than, you know, caching all of our data and archiving it to tiered storage, so local tiered storage, we used to have our expensive tier 1 storage, and then we'd have not so expensive disks, so tier 2. Now we're able to just tier everything into the cloud, which from a cost perspective makes more sense. And again, just from an efficiency perspective makes more sense. You know, we don't need to maintain multiple bits of hardware and all of the associated bits that go with that. We have DR in a box. So we kind of mean by that is, you know, there's no need for extra servers at cold sites. You know, it's literally everything's in CTERA plus, you know, AWS. And for us, that's all we need. We have streamlined access for design and production data with 10 gig Ethernet, as I mentioned earlier. And we're not allowed to go into costs in too much detail, but overall, when you start to add up all of the costs of all these different maintenance contracts and the licenses and the hardware, the capital expenditure, etc., we put our sort of ballpark savings at around about 30% per annum, and that's prorated when you take into account all of those different services. So the future of CTERA JWT. So as well as us, you know, installing HC devices across Europe, we have a global rollout in place. So we have a number of offices that have gone live in North America, and that rollout is going quite well. We have further consolidation. So this is about the HC1200 as well. So within the HC devices, you have a VMware hypervisor, and we're looking to utilize that as that sort of offering grows and expands. We're looking to utilize it to host all of our sort of key network services. So a lot of our smaller offices, we have things like DNS, domain controllers, a print server, all these basic network services that you need a small office to run. And at the moment, you would have either separate servers, or you would have, if the office is big enough, you might have a small VMware environment. Plus, the old-fashioned way of file servers is you'd have your file server and all that sort of stuff as well. Well, now we've got an opportunity to have a kind of office-in-a-box solution, and it really does tie into that whole, global transformation that we're trying to do, which is reduce our footprint, increase efficiencies, cut costs, etc. So when we look at not just file services now, but also the ability to virtualize those core services, we literally could have one server in an office and it will enable that office to operate effectively, which we think is fantastic. So that's kind of the future, and that's our sort of next part of the journey with CTERA for us. So I mentioned the consolidation key network services, and yet more storage consolidation for London. So, at the moment we've got 4 virtual CTERA devices. Once we start to further enable the caching and take advantage of that, we'll be looking to consolidate even further with the help of CTERA. So that's pretty much it from me. And before we jump into a Q&A, I guess hand back over to CTERA, just in case there's anything you guys kind of wanted to go through, but that's pretty much it from me. Hopefully you got all of that. Oh, what?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, you can. I am there.
How
I
you
thought I
doing?
cut out for a minute.
Sorry, we were on mute there, but no, that's great. Thank you very much for the overview there. That's very helpful. Great to hear from a customer, an end user, on how they're using the platform. So that is the content that we wanted to share with everyone today. We have some questions coming into the Q&A box, so I'm going to go through those. And if you have any questions now, you can, as we mentioned, go to the Q&A ribbon on your Zoom entry on your Zoom program and put the question in there. So let me go review all of these, and I will come back with some questions. Just a moment here for Ewan and Oded. All right. Now we have a question about RAID levels, Oded, for the new appliance. Maybe we can. I'll share the screen again with the specs, Oded,
Yeah.
and I will bring that up right now. But the questions are: what are the RAID levels for the HC series, and is it offered in a tower form?
Okay. So by default, the HC 1200 is coming with RAID 10. And it can come also with RAID 6. This is our best practice and our recommendation. The HC 400 is by default coming with RAID 5, but it also supports RAID 6 and RAID 1. So it's based on the customer needs. We can reconfigure it. So it's coming either with RAID 10 for the larger device or RAID 5 for the mid-sized devices. Today, we don't have a tower form factor. It's only coming with either 1U or 2Us, but we are definitely working also in another version that will also come with a tower form factor, and it should be available probably in Q4 this year.
Thanks, Oded. And I am sharing the specs for the HC series right now on our screen, so everyone can take a look at that. But this information is also available on our website, ctera.com/HC-series. You can get it there. You can download all the latest solution briefs as well. Another question for you, Oded, on the HC series appliance: can the storage be upgraded? For example, moving from an 8x8 terabyte application or 8x8 device to a 12x8 terabyte device. Is that possible?
Yes, so you can definitely add hard drives to the RAID later on. So you can start with 8 disks and later on to buy 4 disks. Yes, it's fully supported.
Okay. Question about the hypervisors. We see KVM as a listed hypervisor. Will the virtual gateways ever be supported by the Nutanix AHV hypervisor?
So the answer is yes. We actually fully certify with Nutanix AHV hypervisor. We are going to actually do another webcast next week to announce this solution. So you can find all the information in our website, in the Nutanix website, but you can definitely run today our Edge filer as a virtual machine on Nutanix platform.
Perfect. Another question here. Can you touch a bit upon the migration capabilities of CTERA moving from a legacy Windows or NetApp solution to a CTERA HC series?
Yes, definitely. So we have a lot of experience in this process. So we have a service delivery team here in CTERA that can help you to design the migration and analyze the migration before we start the process. So first, we have, I would say, a few steps before we migrate the data. First, we analyze the data, then we work with the customer to decide which data should be migrated and how we want them to do the migration. We have tools that we can provide to help you to copy the data and keep also all the ACLs and all the structure of the data, so nothing will be changed from a customer or from a user point of view. And then once you copy the data, we have full process to help you with the cutover and how to manage the cutover in the most efficient way in order not to create a large downtime for the end users.
Great. Thank you, Oded. We have a couple of questions for Ewan. So let me start off with, this is more of a broad question, Ewan, but what were the most important items for you to decide to go with CTERA?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose one of the most important factors was the security sort of side of things. I mean, the conversations that we had with CTERA architects, that the devices were all hardened. We'd just been through the ransomware, the Petya sort of attack. We need to make sure that nothing was really going to be on Windows platform anymore. So security was one of the most key things for us, but also. We also wanted a solution that would be fairly evergreen in regards to storage. We were fairly tired of, the traditional sort of approaches where you've got a big SAN and you run out of space, you buy more disks and you keep on buying and buying and buying, it goes on forever. With the caching that's available in CTERA, I call it an evergreen solution. It just basically means you don't need to buy disks. You set a policy, on your gateway or on the portal, which basically says once it reaches a certain point, it will start to cache that information. So it will evict the files. It will leave a stub file, which is a trace. So for the users, the experience is fairly transparent. And that was one of the key sort of driving factors to choosing CTERA, basically. And the solution works quite well, so it's good.
Very good. Thank you, Ewan. Another question specific to JWT London. Are your creative developers all at your London headquarters, or are they dispersed? And did you consolidate your file organizational structure worldwide as part of the CTERA migration?
It's a good question. So our creative, our designers are dispersed across the world. I mean, we have designers in offices all around the world. At the moment, from a collaboration perspective, we're not utilizing the sort of file share and sync features within CTERA, although we are looking to leverage that in the future. So the ability to collaborate across offices is in our roadmap. We just haven't quite got to that yet. But it is possible. And we're looking at it, yeah.
Very good. Another question for you, and I actually think when you touched on it toward the end of your discussion, but in terms of tiering data to the cloud, And actually, more than that, how do you consolidate various applications onto your device? I think you talked about this toward the end, Ewan, as a cloud in a box feature, but can you talk a little bit more about how you're using the HC series as an appliance that converge a number of applications into a single infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, from a converged perspective, we're not. So I mentioned on my deck that that's the future of where we see the HC 1200, and that's what we're starting to look at now. When I mentioned like Office in a box, that sort of thing. For us, we don't actually have that many applications. The applications that we have are mostly hosted from the North American office, and we're not looking at CTERA for that at the moment. What we are looking at CTERA for is to virtualize all of those sort of core network services that basically run on separate virtual machines at the moment in different environments. So we're looking at things like DHCP, domain controllers, DNS, print servers, even font servers, things like that are prime candidates to move into the CTERA environment. And help us along our sort of transformation journey. At the moment, we're not looking at applications. Not to say we wouldn't consider it in the future, but at the moment, it's just not something that we have many of in most of our offices. So yeah, it's not in there.
On the roadmap, something coming down the line now. Another question around moving data to the cloud and tiering that data. Do you have information, Ewan, around the data recall percentage rates that are coming back down from AWS and the cloud to that appliance locally?
I mean, we haven't really looked at the analytics side of things yet. But I would put it as less than 1% of our 173 terabytes is the stuff that was actually being recalled. That's mainly because of the policies that we get. So we get quite granular control over the data that actually gets archived or tiered into the cloud. And at the moment, most of it is still local, and there's only a small percentage that is actually archived or tiered from a stubbing perspective. Into the cloud. So it's all backed up, it's all synced. There's only a very small percentage that is actually stubbed and has to be recalled. And the main reason for that is that we set a policy that anything over 2 years of age gets archived. And we've got like 7 years worth of data. Most of the stuff that people access frequently is, 6 months, 3 months to 6 months old. A year, access much less frequently. 2 years and above, hardly ever accessed. So there's actually very little data that's being recalled at the moment. But the data that we have seen being called back, the recall rates from a speed perspective has been, like I said, pretty much transparent. For all your Word, Excel, PowerPoint stuff, it's pretty much instant. There's a bit of a lag on large files. Especially on design files and stuff like that, especially in our sort of testing environment. But then that's all about, managing user expectations as well. If you've got stuff that's, 7 years old and you want to call that back from an archive, it's going to take a little while to get it back. But that's just a little bit of user education there to manage that.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Ewan. Looks like we just have a couple more questions. Oded, I think these will be directed toward you, specifically around the hardware, but there's a question asking if there are any further hardware requirements, and I think the question is in terms of the HC series for that public cloud connection to an AWS, to an Azure, to an IBM. No particular hardware requirements beyond what's already included in the HC series box, correct, Oded?
Yeah, this is correct. What is do require is to install the CTERA portal, what we call in the Amazon Cloud or IBM Cloud. So the portal actually is the layer that talks to the object storage in one hand, and on the other hand knows how to manage and get the data from the HC series that is syncing and cache the data from the branch to the cloud. So there is a need to install multiple virtual machines for the CTERA portal in the cloud.
Perfect. And then lastly, Oded, in terms of licensing, this question asks if it's by the gigabyte, the user, the function. Can you talk about a little bit about how the appliances are actually sold then?
Sure. So the appliances, first, there is the price of the appliance, of the hardware, and then there is a price of a license that is based on capacity. So it depends on how much capacity you cache to the cloud. And then based on the amount of capacity, you also need to purchase the right license for the platform in the cloud.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank the attendees for those great questions. That was really, I think, helpful for a lot of people. So thanks for the great questions. We're going to wrap it up with that. So thank you very much, Oded, for joining today, and thank you especially Ewan for your insights from JWT London. Very helpful, and we are so glad that the HC series is part of your CTERA journey, and that that you're part of the CTERA family. So thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll make this a recording of this copy of this recording rather available to everyone who joined. So thank you for joining. If you have any further questions, please reach out to us at info@ctera.com, and you can always get more information at ctera.com. So thanks everybody. Have a great day.